They showed up pretending to be cops, two men in black tactical vests, shiny badges that caught the sunlight, and attitudes that screamed trouble. One of them knocked so hard on my front door the hinges rattled. The other stood behind him, arms crossed, scanning the property like he owned the place. Thing is, I've seen real law enforcement. I've worked alongside them. These guys, they didn't move like cops. They moved like amateurs, nervous, twitchy, and looking for a fight. Before we dive in, comment which country you're watching from. Let's see how far this story travels. For the record, I didn't move here looking for trouble. After 20 years in Delta Force, all I wanted was quiet. I'd spent half my life kicking in doors for people who couldn't defend themselves. I'd seen what chaos looks like when authority gets abused. So when I retired, I bought a few acres outside the city. Built my home myself. Solid foundation, reinforced frame, everything by the book. To me, this place was more than property. It was peace. To the HOA, it was defiance. They didn't like that I didn't ask for permission before installing motion sensors, or that my fence was too fortified. They called it unfriendly. I called it safe. The HOA president, a woman named Karen Douglas, took it personally. She had the kind of smile that looked friendly until you realized she used it to deliver threats. "We just want to maintain order," she said once, standing on my porch like she owned the place. I told her, "Ma'am, I've fought men who thought the same thing. It never ends well." After that, the letters started coming. Violations, fines, even an accusation that my security cameras invaded the community's privacy. I sent them all to my lawyer. Every single one bounced back as unenforceable. That's when the intimidation began. Unmarked vehicles slowing down near my gate. Anonymous calls claiming inspections were pending. One night, someone even tried to open my shed. My motion sensors caught them running off. So when I heard gravel crunching outside at dawn that Monday, I wasn't surprised. I just didn't expect them to pretend to be cops. Two black SUVs rolled up, stopping a few feet short of my gate. Doors opened in perfect sync like they'd rehearsed it. Out stepped two men in black tactical vests labeled HOA cop. Their gear looked professional at first glance, until you noticed the cheap nylon straps, the mismatched boots, the fake patches peeling at the corners. One was tall, buzz cut, hands already hovering near a sheathed knife on his thigh. The other was broader, sunglasses on, even though the sun hadn't cleared the trees yet. Both had that swagger, the kind that comes from thinking fear equals respect. I didn't move, just watched from the porch, coffee mug in hand, my dog low growling by my side. The tall one barked, "Sir, step out. We're here for a compliance inspection, HOA orders." I set my mug down and smiled faintly. "You two sure you're in the right neighborhood?" He flashed what looked like a badge. Shiny, plastic, crooked. I'd seen real credentials before. These? Cheap props. "You're trespassing," I said flatly, "and impersonating law enforcement. You boys really want to add that to your morning?" They exchanged glances. The taller one smirked, hand inching toward his knife. That was his second mistake. The first was thinking the HOA could scare me. The second was stepping onto my land. "Step back," I warned, my voice low but steady. "You don't want to do this." The taller one just grinned, flipping his knife in his hand like he'd practiced in front of a mirror. The other guy shifted uneasily behind him, eyes darting toward the house, maybe realizing this wasn't the kind of man you surprise on a Monday afternoon. I repeated, stepping forward, "Put it down." "Relax, old man," the tall one said, smirking. "We're just here to deliver a message." "From who?" I asked. "From people tired of your attitude toward the HOA, he said, waving the knife casually. "You think you're above the rules? Everyone pays. Everyone obeys." I kept my hands visible, body relaxed, calm on the outside, calculating on the inside. I dealt with men like him in deserts, jungles, and alleyways. The difference was, those men had training. These two just had anger and dull blades. My eyes flicked to his stance. Weight forward, blade hand exposed. Amateur. I took a half step to my right, forcing him to turn. His partner moved to flank me. Bad move. "You got 5 seconds to leave my property," I said. He laughed. "Or what? You gonna call the cops?" I smiled slightly. "No need." He lunged. Fast, sloppy, desperate, but I'd already closed the distance. My hand caught his wrist mid-swing, twisting with just enough torque to make the knife clatter to the ground. His face dropped from confidence to panic in an instant. The second guy yelled and came in wild, knife raised. I shifted, used the first man's body as a shield, and sent a knee straight into his gut. He folded. The second one hesitated. Too long. I disarmed him, slammed his wrist against the fence post, and sent the blade spinning into the grass. Both men were on the ground in under 60 seconds, wheezing, groaning, and regretting life choices. The tall one looked up at me, gasping. You broke my wrist." "No," I said coldly. "Gravity did. You just helped it." I kicked both knives farther out of reach and pulled out my phone, dialing the sheriff's department. "Yeah," I said calmly. "Two suspects impersonating officers, trespassing, and brandishing weapons. You'll want cuffs and an ambulance." They both started talking at once. Excuses, names. some nonsense about HOA enforcement orders. I let them babble while I stood over them, arms crossed, heart rate steady. By the time the sirens echoed from down the hill, both men were silent. The deputies arrived fast, weapons drawn, but it didn't take them long to realize who had the upper hand. One deputy looked at me and shook his head. "They really tried to pull knives on you?" "Yeah," I said, looking down at the two sprawled out on my driveway. "Guess they didn't read the fine print." "Fine print?" he asked. I smiled faintly. "Never start a fight on a Delta's porch." If you're enjoying this HOA story so far, like and subscribe because the story is only going to get better. The deputies had the two fake cops face down on the driveway within seconds. Zip ties, Miranda rights, the whole routine. One of them kept whining that his wrist hurt. The other just stared at the gravel like it might open up and swallow him. I gave my statement while the medics patched them up. "They came onto private property armed," I said. "No badges, no warrant, no jurisdiction. Claim to represent the HOA. One of the deputies, Morales, glanced at me and sighed. "Same group we've been tracking. Couple of neighborhood tough guys calling themselves HOA cop. Think they can scare folks into paying fines." "They're escalating," I said. "You let them keep this up, someone's gonna get killed." Morales nodded. "They're done after today." While the paramedics loaded the two into the ambulance, I noticed the shorter one couldn't stop glancing toward a clipboard that had fallen from his vest. I picked it up. Inside was a printed order from the Willow Ridge HOA, demanding compliance, payment, and authorizing field enforcement, signed by their president herself. "Gotcha." I handed it to Morales. "You'll want to see this." He skimmed it, jaw tightening. "Forgery, coercion, impersonation. This is going to bury them." A few hours later, I was at the sheriff's office when the call came in. Both suspects had confessed. They admitted the HOA president had sent them, told them to apply pressure to stubborn homeowners who refused to join, promised them a cut of every fine collected. Bad idea. Under state law, that makes it a felony to impersonate law enforcement, punishable by up to 3 years in prison. Combine that with brandishing a weapon and trespass with intent to intimidate, and suddenly the fake cops were facing real time. And since the HOA president orchestrated it, she got hit with conspiracy and solicitation charges too. Both fake HOA cops were charged with impersonating law enforcement, assault with a deadly weapon, and criminal trespass. They each received 5 years in state prison and a lifetime weapons ban. The HOA president who sent them was found guilty of conspiracy and criminal solicitation. She was sentenced to 3 years in prison, fined $40,000, and permanently banned from serving on any HOA board again. By the next morning, the local paper had it splashed across the front page. "Fake HOA cops arrested. Delta Force vet stops assault." My phone didn't stop ringing. Some calls were from grateful neighbors, others from reporters fishing for quotes. I turned them all down. The story wasn't about me. It was about the message. You don't get to weaponize fear in a community and call it enforcement. No more fake badges. No more threats. Just a quiet street that learned who not to mess with. And that's how two fake HOA cops learned the hard way that intimidation doesn't work on a Delta Force vet. Not when your whole act falls apart in 60 seconds flat. The end.